Hey everybody, we are back after a
hiatus.
2-week hiatus.
It was Labor Day.
We had Labor Day.
We had our friend's wedding in Atlanta.
We were in Atlanta. We what else did we have?
And then it was
Rosh Hashanah, Jewish New Year. So we were away for that. So it's it's been a couple weeks.
But it's been like I would say busy news.
It's been busy news cycle. As always, nonstop, everybody. Kind of as Afghanistan ended towards the end of August, we've had a whole bunch of stuff light up. I'll try to get through some of it tonight. There are lots of questions. What else, Al? Anything else? We've been monitoring the Met Gala coverage this evening, which we'll get to.
Did you know about
in a bit.
Like when you walked in, were you prepared for it to be on? For E! News to be
I was not prepared for the command center you had put together on Met Gala. By the way, I'm joined as always by my wife Alex, who's behind the scenes, monitoring all the latest and greatest. So yeah, we'll get to the Met Gala in a second, and all the crazy outfits.
Truly, there is more important news out there.
There is more important news.
All the news. And
So I would kind of split the questions tonight that I got in advance between vaccine-related stuff, California recall-related stuff for all you Californians out there, or those of you outside California who are interested in what's going on. And then I would add in Afghanistan fallout, a couple Britney questions, some vaccine booster questions.
You also just got a question. Is it
Where did you
weird
get a question?
Is it weird to say I want to be your friend? From J Rose Social, but you also got that from Katie too. I want to be your friend too.
You want to be my friend? You guys are all my friends. You're my Instagram friends. It is not weird at all. I appreciate all of you, all my new friends.
We love meeting. I mean, I've made so many friends. I swear.
We've made friends. We've run into some of you on the streets of New York City. It's been great. Real Estate Rachel wants to know about our dinner with Jay Cohen Friday night. We had a lovely dinner. He invited us for
how did we miss that?
For Shabbat dinner in at his place with his husband.
He is as nice as you think he is,
he's
and
as nice.
he is the most incredible chef. I am impressed with myself if I make 3 things. Mm-hmm. This man made 7 things, and everything was delicious.
Major props to Jay Cohen. You can follow him on Instagram. Get his cookbook, Jewish. Delicious meal he made Friday night.
What's your favorite thing?
All Persian. Well, I think the rice tadig was great. I thought the lamb was really great. I think he did a really nice salad as well. Top of mind.
Which we've still been eating.
And his challah bread is
we
very
eat
good.
the entire challah between the two of us.
Pretty Cool Ice Cream asks what my favorite flavor of ice cream is, Alex.
Oh, that is such a hard question, but I can answer.
Yeah?
He loves mint. He also
chocolate
loves
chip, solid.
Peanut butter.
Anything peanut butter. Those are my 2 go-tos. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
You know my taste very well.
Yeah. We play a game sometimes when we're at the restaurant where he says, Alex, what would I order?
What would I order? And you typically score 97, 98%. And the only time you're off by 2% is because there's an option between one or the other, and he chose the other one that time. But, huh?
Oh, how is Abba Charlie? Oren says.
Oh, my father's great. What was I going to say? And the plant behind me is real. What's the place we got it from, Al?
I'll post it here. I'll post it here for everybody.
Alex will put that. All right, so let's get to the news since we've been dawdling a little bit. Hello, Toronto. Let's begin with the big events out in the West Coast tomorrow. The California recall election. Right now, if polls are to be believed, big caveat, right? If the polls are to be believed, it appears that the Democrat incumbent, Gavin Newsom, will survive the challenge. The polls are kind of scattered across the place. If you kind of, give or take, or, feel like they're not adequately accounting for Republican votes or disenchanted Democrats, it could be a long night. But it appears that he's going to squeak this one through. And of course, he's had Kamala Harris and President Biden in the past couple of days to try to put him over the top. He's tried to scare the hell out of California Democrats who are like, you might not like me, but you're not going to like the conservative talk show host Larry Elder who replaces me. Now, a couple things to keep in mind in this recall election. This is kind of a unique California thing. A couple other states have this, but California engages in recalls once in a while. You might recall the recall last time around that brought you Governor Schwarzenegger. That happened in a recall election. People liked him so much they reelected him, right? This time around, Newsom has 1 year left of his term. So this recall election is a 2-question ballot. Question 1, do you want to recall the governor? If 50.1% of people or more say, yes, I want to recall the governor, then you go to question 2, which is, who would you like to replace the governor? There's 46 candidates. They include Caitlyn Jenner, who's I think polling at 1% right now. So even if you think the polls are off, Caitlyn Jenner ain't going to be the governor of California. But who's been leading those polls is Larry Elder, conservative talk show host. He's getting anywhere between 20 and 40%. Keep in mind, if question 1 goes to we want to recall the governor, no matter who wins the second vote, even if they have as little as 15% of the vote, 12% of the vote, 8% of the vote, they're the next governor of California. That's kind of the way the system works. Not kind of, that's the way the system works. Then remember that there's then an election next year. So whoever, if somehow Newsom is recalled, the replacement has a year to be governor and then has to run again. California's a very democratic state, so you would think that the Republican would have to really showcase an interesting perform very well in the next year in order to survive. If Newsom is not recalled, Newsom does have to run for re-election next year if he chooses to do so. So I see someone here saying fraud is the only way Dems win elections. There's no evidence so far of fraud, but that hasn't prevented people from already accusing folks of fraud. In fact, if you go to Elder's website, electelder.com, and you click on the fraud button, he basically says, I've lost the election, it's fraud, let's protest. The election's tomorrow. So there's a concern now that anytime folks lose, they want to now say it happened because of fraud, and if they win, it was a legit election.
Turkey Winch doesn't want you to rule out Jenner. Greatest athlete in the world.
Turkey Winch. I mean, listen, Caitlyn did perform, well, at the time, as Bruce. At was it the 76 games in Montreal? We watched that documentary on the plane.
Excellent documentary.
It was an excellent documentary. Was it? We watched it on Delta, but is it on HBO? No, we watched it on Netflix.
Oh, we watched it on Netflix.
Netflix is
We were flying Delta.
Yeah.
But we watched it on an iPad.
So Loving Life 980 says mail ballots and fraud, that's how Dems win. So in all the states where the Democrats are in power, you believe fraud has brought them there, but in all the states Republicans have power, you don't believe fraud? I probably shouldn't engage with this person, but anyway, I just think it's curious.
That's why you don't answer that's why I ask the questions.
Yeah, I know.
When you start to look down, things get a little hairy.
Anyway, the Jenner doc on Netflix is excellent. So that's the issue right now in California. As you look ahead, it does appear that based on turnout, based on polling, that Newsom will survive this, even though Newsom is pretty unpopular, even among Democrats. But the whole shtick of his is you might not like me, but you like this other guy. He hasn't said that literally, but that's kind of what the people around him are saying, right? So that's the deal in California. Any questions related to that, Al?
Well, Arlene just said, I don't think it's fair that they were allowed to pour $75 million into a candidate.
That's the American system, folks. Unlimited funds, unlimited money, super PACs, things have opened up. There was a Supreme Court case about 20 years ago that McCain and other folks railed against that basically allowed unlimited amounts of money to come through to campaigns. I know some of you who might be watching from Canada or Europe might, wonder about this American system of ours. In parliamentary systems, you typically have a set amount of time, a set amount of money to each candidate, and you go for it for 30 or 60 days. In America, we are constantly running for re-election and fundraising unlimited amounts of money.
Lauren V says, can you briefly recap why people don't like the governor?
Why don't people like Gavin Newsom? They feel that he's been a hypocrite when it comes to COVID, that he applied different rules for himself than the rest of the state, that he unnecessarily shut things down in the state to beyond what was necessary, that it hurt small businesses. Those are among the things. If there's any Californians on here who have other rationale, but I just know the COVID thing really hit a bunch of folks. There was also a lot of corruption within California in terms of how money was allocated and questions about that. And people just kind of feel that he is detached in a way from the issues impacting regular Californians. Beyond that, they feel that he's allowed the state to get a little too progressive or left-leaning on criminal justice, etc., which has led to a surge in things like homelessness and crime in cities in California.
Danica said because he ate at a fancy restaurant when he told people to stay at home.
Yeah, so he went to French Laundry in Napa, but I think part of it is also just kind of, if you live in San Francisco or you live in LA and you see some of the issues related to criminal justice, etc., there's a lot of people who are very frustrated with the governor's, how they would refer to as kind of laissez-faire policies when it comes to
Jay Holly handling schools, unions is a biggie.
Yeah, schools, unions. I mean, guys, California's been trouble for, you could go back to when Reagan, before he was president, remember he was governor of California, people had issues with the approach he took and the challenges California has. Think about it this way. California has about 35 million people. It's the population of Canada. It's the 7th largest economy in the world. If California became its own country, it'd be in the top 10 economies in the world. So it's like governing, not even a small country. I would say it's like a medium to, size country. And so there's a lot of challenges there. And there's a lot of laws that have been passed decades ago that Californians are dealing with today. As somebody said, I don't know if it's a literal dumpster fire, but I guess it's a dumpster fire, and at times there's so many fires in California, you could confuse it with a dumpster fire, yes.
And you even said, was it you who told me that they're closing a lot of CVS's and a lot of...
Well, in San Francisco, because of the amount of shoplifting, because they decriminalized certain laws, or they decriminalized certain offenses there, that now means that you can shoplift a certain amount of goods and never face jail time.
Yeah.
And so that has meant that some chain stores have shut down their shops in San Francisco because they're like, it's just not worth it to stay open if people can literally pick something up and walk out the door and not feel like they're going to be arrested for it. Marco says it's not that bad. Geez. Yeah, no, I mean, listen. California, great state. We love to travel there, etc. It has its challenges. And because you guys have a recall law, you guys have decided to engage in it this time because enough people this time have decided that they're frustrated with the current governor, right?
Yeah, time is up.
Yeah.
Is there anything else? There's just a question about something else entirely. So.
Oh, another topic?
Another topic, but is there anything on this topic you want?
No, I think we've hit California. Good luck tomorrow, Californians, with your vote. We'll update tomorrow night as we get results. So let's go to the next thing.
Rashli said, can you comment on Afghanistan and China?
Okay.
And the other question was from her, is it true China is going into Afghanistan? Will our military expertise and equipment be compromised if China reverse engineers tanks, equipment, etc.?
All right. So we're going to hit Afghanistan now.
Oh, yeah.
All right. So let's hit Afghanistan. We also want to talk vaccines and stuff too, but that brings us to Afghanistan. So let's talk about China for a second. China loves to be influential with every country on Earth. China's sort of like where the U.S. was at, several decades ago, seeking influence in every country around the world in a very aggressive way. I'd say we've kind of burnt out on that, especially given the last 20 years during the war on terror. So China spends tons and tons of money and resources to develop connections in the developing world, South America, Europe. They want to be everywhere. Afghanistan is pretty close to them, right? It's just, it's in their neighborhood, so to speak. So they see an opportunity now to fill in the gap where the U.S. has left. So China and Russia have already put out aid to the Taliban to help with humanitarian aid while the West kind of like figures out what to do. Like, we want to help the Afghan people, but we don't want to help the Taliban. What do? China's like, we don't care. We're going to help you guys out. Let us get involved. We're going to hook you up. We're going to help you like drill, build some highways. China's invested an incredible amount of money in neighboring Pakistan to help build that connection and help Pakistan build a port, a deep water port in the Indian Ocean there. Now, Afghanistan is landlocked, so there's no port to build, but Afghanistan sits on tons of minerals, and just rhetorically speaking, philosophically speaking, foreign policy speaking, the Chinese want to be influential and be like, America screwed you guys up. Let us, China, will come in and fix it. Here's some vaccines, here's some money, here's some resources, etc., etc. Should we be worried about reverse engineering weaponry? Well, rest assured, China has a very, very large military with some very advanced weapons. China engages in a lot of cyber espionage and espionage against the U.S., so I would imagine they have a pretty good sense of the type of weaponry we have. The stuff that we gave to the Afghan army, that the Afghan army either then lost to the Taliban or just when they ran away and the Taliban took over, I'm sure there's might be some technology there. Again, I don't have classified intel. I don't know who's freaking out at the Pentagon right now about certain weapons, but rest assured the Chinese have a pretty large network of intel agents around the world, including in allied countries. Afghanistan is not the only country where we sell military equipment or have military equipment. China's everywhere. In a lot of places, we're both in a lot of countries. China is heavily in the Middle East these days too, where we tend to have a lot of weapons or sell a lot of weapons. So that I'm less worried about. It's more about just generally speaking, China continuing to kind of grow its influence and undermine the U.S. Right. The bigger concern with China is how they view the U.S. withdrawal from Afghanistan and how they approach Taiwan. Taiwan, China views as part of China. Taiwan has effectively operated independently now for the better part of a half century. Remember that the Democrats from China ran away to Taiwan to be a refuge in Taiwan when the communists took over China. China has been waiting for decades to go, we need to go take over Taiwan. Do they now look at what happened in Afghanistan and be like, well, the U.S. promises to protect Taiwan, but are they? Are they actually going to take, if we decide one day to take out that entire island and take it over again, will the U.S. actually come to protect them? Do they want to engage in war with us? So I think that's the bigger concern as far as U.S. defense officials are concerned.
Thank you to everyone who's buying a badge, by the way.
Oh, thank you all on the bottom of the screen who are buying badges, supporting this account. As we had a good meeting last week on podcasting, right, Al?
Yes, we did. We're
coming to an audio service near you soon.
After our honeymoon, we're going to kick it off.
Post-honeymoon. We're doing honeymoon or early October. And then I hope, yeah.
We'll do like a reveal on your Patreon what the name is.
Oh, yeah. We'll do some reveals on the Patreon for those of you who subscribe to the Patreon over in my link in bio.
It's a real good one.
On Afghanistan, let's stay on topic. Thank you for bringing me there, Russia Lee. The UN met today and pledged $1 billion in aid to Afghanistan, 64 million of which will come from the U.S. For those of you saying 64 million to Afghanistan, keep in mind that while we had the war in Afghanistan going for the last 20 years, we spent $300 million a day in Afghanistan. So just, that's that if you kind of calculate out the war or whatever. So that's just something to keep in mind. So we're going to put 64 million. That comes out of USAID, which is the agency under the State Department. That then goes to the UN. For those of you asking, well, does that go into the hands of the Taliban? Probably. Not directly from us through the UN, but for the UN to distribute it, they need to be able to coordinate with the Taliban. At the same time, keep in mind that 70% of revenue of the GDP of Afghanistan, up until recently, comes from international aid. They don't really have a self-sustaining economy. And that was the previous regime. Now, they've, Taliban's taken over. You're probably looking at 80-90% of the country supported by international aid. And so there's that. International aid funded 23 hospitals around the country. 90% of those facilities have now had to shut their doors because they don't have that aid money coming in. So Afghanistan is very dependent, and we're talking about maybe 11 million, almost a third of the Afghan population is dependent on those handouts. And so that's huge. So the U.S. is contributing to that. So that happened today. The other thing when it comes to, can we oversee the funds in terms of being used, somebody asks, it goes to the UN. The UN's dealing with it, and I think we're keeping ourselves separated from it. So, as we kind of figure out what our relationship with the Taliban is going to be. To answer that question. Go ahead, Al.
Oh, Yogi D's on. Hi, Yogi D.
Hi, Yogi D is on. Is he?
Connection tough as I skate by the Santa Monica beach. Keep the faith.
Yeah.
Already.
Wait, is Yogi D actually rollerblading while he listens to this?
Yeah.
Okay.
So I don't know what's better. Your mom going through Trader Joe's with her phone on, so everybody at Trader Joe's in Chicago can hear.
Yeah.
Or Yogi D skating on Santa Monica, with you.
Well, I appreciate the promotion, Yogi D. I don't know if you voted in your recall election in California, if you're registered to vote in California these days. But yes, my mom is also very good at promoting this live while she walks around Trader Joe's outside Chicago. The one other note on Afghanistan is Blinken, the Secretary of State. Not Lincoln, but Blinken, Tony Blinken, is finished his first of 2 days of testimony on Capitol Hill. Today he had the House. Tomorrow he has the Senate, where he was effectively the first major Biden official to have to explain what is happening and what happened in Afghanistan. He, for his part, delivered an unwavering defense of the Biden administration. He said it was time to end America's longest war, and he praised the evacuation of Kabul as extraordinary, noting that they got 120,000 people out. He took a grilling from Republicans. He got some love from Democrats who were like, thank you for getting us out. It was really challenging. We haven't heard about a better way to get it out. This is typically how these, hearings go. When you have a Republican president, the Republican Secretary of State, the Republicans are like, can you believe how great that was? When you have a Democratic president with a Democratic Secretary of State, the Democrats are like, can you believe how great that was? And so effectively view every congressional hearing as a trial. The party that you're in, your members, play the defense. As they question you, they ask you leading questions to support your case. And the other party, in this case Republicans, play the prosecution. Why did you do this? Why did you do that? Didn't you promise X? Didn't you promise Y? So Blinken did that today. He acknowledged, I like this quote, they asked him about dealing with the Taliban and the fact that several members of the Taliban government are terrorists that we pursued and at times jailed. And he said, some of them, quote, have very challenging track records, as he asked whether we would engage in relations with them. Then he kept falling back on the following, which is that it was Trump's Taliban peace deal. We inherited a deadline, Blinken said. We did not inherit a plan. So they're pointing the finger saying this is kind of what we had to deal with. At the same time, you have, even a number of Democrats acknowledging, did it have to be this way? Why did you guys not get our, visa recipients out in time? Why did things have to happen the way they happened? So that was the hearing. I think typically you get kind of more childish behavior at the U.S. House. The Senate will have its hearing tomorrow. Typically you get kind of more refined questions in the Senate. We'll see how that goes, and I'll bring you kind of highlights from that tomorrow. Go ahead, Al.
Are you done with your Afghanistan?
Yeah, those are my quick things there.
So
yeah.
S. Miller says, when is Sharon coming on? I love her.
Oh, quick promo. Tomorrow night, we'll see you guys again at 9:00 Eastern Time, Tuesday night. I'll be interviewing Sharon McMahon, also known as @SharonSaysSo. Been following her since the election, where she was also kind of ensuring that the few, the proud, the folks, those of us on Instagram who are trying to ensure you're getting fact-based coverage of all things. She is a government. She refers to herself as America's government teacher. Your supporters, some of you who found out about my account from her, the Governerds. But so she talks about civics, history, news, etc. So I look forward to having a great conversation with her. I recorded her podcast recently, so stay tuned for that. That'll be coming out soon.
Oh, yeah. I feel like you're going to need like hours with Sharon.
Yeah, well, I mean, we'll see. She's on Central Time, so maybe we'll see how late she can stay up, if we can stay up late here on Eastern Time. But we'll be taking your questions, so join us tomorrow night at Tuesday night at 9 p.m. Eastern Time.
So Rob Aragon says, do you believe Nicki Minaj's tweets?
Oh, all right, so are we going to vaccines now?
Well, I think that we should.
All right. So, all right, so there's a lot of serious things to discuss when it comes to vaccines and COVID latest, but let's begin with the fun story.
Patty just goes, not happy the plant is now covering the Emmy.
Oh.
That's hilarious.
There it is. There it is, Patty. All right, now it's hiding. There it is again.
Yeah, it's grown so much, this plant. Oh my goodness.
Yeah, this plant said it's getting a lot of sun from the southern light here. So let's talk about Nicki Minaj and then get to some serious COVID vaccine.
I feel like Turkey Winch will really like this topic.
Turkey Winch is getting us off topic on Kim Jong-un. But we're going to talk right now about Nicki Minaj, another serious piece of business. So Nicki Minaj took to Twitter a couple hours ago, and if you haven't seen yet, she's decided that she was not going to attend the Met Gala this evening because she is not vaccinated. she needs to do her own research on the vaccine. But as part of her own research, she has highlighted the following story, that her cousin's friend in Trinidad allegedly got the vaccine. The vaccine allegedly enlarged his testicles. And
might call it swollen nutgate.
Swollen nutgate. And then he became impotent, and because of that, his fiance canceled the wedding. Okay. She's also put a poll out. You're free to take Nicki Minaj's Twitter poll right now, asking anyone on Twitter what vaccine she should get. You can vote. Either Pfizer, Moderna, J&J, or other. So that's Nicki's contribution to the discussion right now.
Did you vote?
Did I vote? Yeah, I vote on Team Moderna. So that's what's happening over there. In all seriousness, I have not seen issues related to the issue she mentioned her cousin's friend had in Trinidad yet when it comes to side effects. Nearly 1 billion people, I think more than 1 billion people around the world have now gotten the vaccine. What it was concerning to read is there are some studies that show that COVID actually has led to sperm count issues in some folks. Again, it's very preliminary in a couple studies with a few hundred folks in it. So that's something to definitely monitor. But that is what we know right now about the Nicki Minaj situation.
I don't see the place you can vote.
Wait, so on the Nicki Minaj Twitter feed...
I do. It's 3 hours ago. Oh, wow.
3 hours ago,
She's
yeah.
been allowed to tweet since.
She's been tweeting a lot. She's responding to a lot of people. Nicki's very engaged.
Now,
Go ahead.
66% say Pfizer.
Okay.
20% say Moderna. 5% say Johnson & Johnson.
Okay.
And 9% say other. And this is at 9:37 at night.
All right. So the poll shows that 2/3 of Nicki Minaj Twitter followers are suggesting she take the Pfizer vaccine. All right. You heard it here first, folks. So we're monitoring 2 polls in the next 24 hours. One is the Nicki Minaj vaccine Twitter poll. The other is the California recall election. Anyway, that's what we know on that front. In all seriousness...
Turkey Winch says if the vaccine grows your balls, then sign me up for that booster.
All right. Noted. What are we going to do? Let's see. I'm trying to, what do we take this to rated R sometimes, right?
Yeah,
a little bit. Once in a
while. These are people who have been on here now for 40 minutes.
Yeah, this is a real thing. This is a real thing.
Yeah.
Faith says the recall election is more newsworthy. I agree with you, Faith. The prospect of the 7th largest economy in the world getting a new leader tomorrow night. All right, so on vaccine front, in all seriousness, what do we know right now? 208 million Americans have received at least 1 dose. That leaves about 80 million Americans unvaccinated. So we're hitting about 75% of adults, just over 60% total population. The big headlines in the past couple days coming from Fauci, coming from a couple other folks is they're hopeful that the Pfizer vaccine will potentially receive emergency use authorization for 5 to 11-year-olds as soon as Halloween. Trick or treat, everybody. So we're monitoring that. They added a whole bunch of additional children to the study per the FDA last month because they just wanted to get through the concerns, the handful of cases they had heard about the heart enlarging, what's called mitochondriosis, something like that.
That's not what it's called.
Myocardia.
Yes, you're close.
It has cardio in it because it's heart, but again, I'm not a doctor. I just try my best to summarize all this stuff. And so they added more 5 to 11-year-olds to that study, which has meant that this has been slightly pushed back, but they're looking at end of October right now for 5 to 11-year-olds. Myocarditis, Turkey Winch. Thank you for being helpful there.
Are you saying he's not helpful?
I'm saying that some stuff's a distraction sometimes. Okay, so that's what we know. This comes, by the way, everybody's answering the question. This comes as Biden on Thursday announced his, a 6-point plan to try to boost vaccine use in the country. That included, most controversially, the vaccine mandate or testing mandate for all companies of 100 or more employees. Again, he said if you have a private company, you have 100 or more employees, you either need to mandate the vaccine or you need to mandate a weekly test. Now, keep in mind that that has not gone into effect yet, because the way this works is the Department of Labor, which oversees OSHA, OSHA, has to write the rule. Once they write the rule, then there'll be a 50 to 90-day period to comply. It's probably going to be a couple of weeks, but as the Labor Department writes that rule, because we're talking about, if I'm a 100-person company, but I have 4 locations of 25, do I have to follow that rule? Or is it one location of 100? If half of my employees are home-based employees now and don't come in, do I have to comply with that rule? So the Department of Labor has to basically go through dozens, if not hundreds of different scenarios to determine what this rule is, how one implements the rule, whether it's the vaccine rule or the weekly testing rule. How does that work? Do I have to test vaccinated and unvaccinated? Do I have to test people at home? Et cetera, et cetera. And how do we get tests available to all of them? So this is a very complicated thing. It's easy to say this thing, but implementing it will be challenging. Not the least of which, because you have a whole bunch of folks in the country who either are against the vaccine or support the vaccine but don't like mandates, right? And I've gotten notes from a number of you who are like, I got the vaccine, I just don't think this mandate thing, I think it's going too far. But Biden's looking at the numbers, he's looking at Delta, he's trying to get the numbers up, and he's like, this is where I gotta go, I gave people a chance. And I'm seeing success in Europe where they're getting up to 90% of their adults vaccinated based on mandate rules. Go ahead, Elle.
Danny Girl says the CDC numbers of breakthrough cases seems low since there are so many people who are getting COVID and vaccinated. Do you know how they gauge the breakthrough numbers?
So the thing about the CDC is they decided early on that it was going to be very challenging for them to try to track every breakthrough case. Breakthrough case being if you get COVID after being vaccinated. So what the CDC has decided to do is track hospitalizations and deaths of the vaccinated and not track all the cases of the vaccinated. Because, think about it this way. Trying to track that accurately is very challenging because many of the breakthrough cases for vaccinated folks are asymptomatic. Same way that you have some unvaccinated people with asymptomatic cases. You've never quite been able to track those. So the CDC, given its resources, time, experience, etc., has decided to only track hospitalizations and deaths. So when it comes to breakthrough cases, I typically don't share the stats on that because I feel like so many people are asymptomatic. It's the hospitalizations and deaths where I feel the numbers are much more standardized. Now, the one thing that has come through that we'd love to see is of the vaccinated and unvaccinated in the hospital, what is their age breakdown? And when it comes to the vaccinated, what vaccine did they get? How old are they? When did they get the vaccine? So we can get a sense that and I've heard anecdotally that some of the vaccinated folks who are doing the worst in the hospital tend to be above the age of 70. Again, but we don't have those numbers hard, and the way that the system works in America, we got 50 states, we got thousands of counties, we got public hospitals, we got private hospitals, so gathering that data has been a challenge in this country. Yeah.
Someone just said they're in Idaho and their town is so anti-vaccine and anti-mask, and there's so many people in the hospital right now.
I mean, that's the thing is the stats show so far that you have anywhere from a 10 to 20 times higher probability of being hospitalized or dying of COVID if you're not vaccinated. And you see that from numbers from, by the way, guys, very red states, okay? Not just the blue states. You see it in the red states where you see that the vast majority of folks who are hospitalized and that, unfortunately are passing away from this are the unvaccinated. And so far, that is what the data has shown, right?
S. Miller says, so basically it'll be months before vaccines are actually required for employees.
Correct. So think about it this way. If you're in the U.S. military, it's already required. Part of Biden's mandate was also related to federal agencies. Well, most of them. And there's a mandate there. Now, some of you asked, why didn't he require Congress to get the vaccine? Well, if you recall, go back to your civics education. We have 3 branches of government: executive, judicial, and legislative. The executive cannot mandate things for the legislative or judicial. So as the executive, he has a bunch of agencies, departments, etc. He can make rules as the president of that. He can't make rules for Congress. Only Congress can handle Congress, as we found out. So there's that. So as far as the public sector, the government sector is concerned, my understanding is that federal workers have about 70 days to be vaccinated. If you're a healthcare worker, CMS is issuing its interim final rule for potentially mid to late October. So you should watch that. And as far as the private sector is concerned, you should wait for the announcement that the Department of Labor has issued a rule, then see if that goes into effect. Then typically once that rule is issued, you will see a bunch of Republicans fighting to file the first lawsuit. They will file a lawsuit, and then judges will begin to hear that case. And what you'll be on the lookout for is whether those judges will block the rule from going into effect until it gets decided. So this thing might never go into effect, depending on how judges rule, or it could go into effect and then get frozen by some judge, and then unfrozen by some judge.
Katie asked, do we think that the federal vaccine mandate and testing mandate will hold up in court?
So there's a good question there. So federal vaccine mandate, will it hold up? If you Google that, there's been a bunch of legal analysis done. You did see some cases like turn of the century, last century, in the early 1900s, related to vaccine mandates. The vaccine mandate folks believe that holds up, and that does give the Department of Labor the power legally to issue this. One thing to keep in mind, by the way, is that we're a federal system. We got 50 states. States handle their own rules. They have their own National Guard. States are independent to a certain extent. And so what judges may rule, and given the nature of the Supreme Court, which is 6-3, conservative, who are very into the federal system and giving states rights, is they might rule that the feds cannot make this rule, but states can make this rule. So it could turn out that every state individually will have to make its own rules. Again, this is getting far too into the future, but this is kind of how the debate will go down. Grace James notes Jacobson versus Massachusetts of 1905. Yes, that is one of the cases related to vaccine mandates.
You and Sharon have a good time.
Oh, we're going to talk to Sharon about that tomorrow night. That'd be good. We'll nerd out on the legalities of the vaccine mandate.
For people who just joined, just say that briefly. What's happening?
So if any of you follow Sharon Says So on Instagram, I'll have her on Tuesday night, 9 p.m. Eastern, 8 p.m. Central, 6 p.m. Pacific, tomorrow night on IG Live.
Someone says Delta is going down, Mu is rising.
So I'm not that worried about Mu right now. Mu, Delta, beats the hell out of Mu and beat the hell out of Lambda. If you look at the breakdown of the variants, Delta seems to be the strongest of the variants. Mu has been around since January, guys. It just turns out that Delta was, a stronger variant, if you will. I mean, I'm not rooting for Delta. I root for Delta Airlines. We're Sky Miles holders right now. We're big fans of Delta. Most of the time. Yeah. This live not brought to you by the Delta variant or Delta Airlines.
What else, Mosh? It's 9:48. You got 10, 12 minutes.
But we have seen that the case count globally and nationally is going down when it comes to COVID right now. So hopefully that means that we've surpassed this current surge, and hopefully these other variants, don't wreak the havoc, unfortunately, that Delta has. One other note, or two other notes related to COVID: boosters. I get a lot of questions related to boosters. The new study out today, 18 authors, including the 2 FDA scientists who left last month because they disagree with booster policy. The data, that study came out today saying it's too early to mandate boosters in the general population. Now, what they'll say is, this is a review that this group of 18, including the 2 FDA scientists, published in The Lancet. An expert said that whatever advantage boosters provide would not outweigh the benefit of using those doses to protect the billions of people who remain unvaccinated. So basically the rationale being that they're partially saying that they would much rather use available vaccine doses to hit, the other 4 billion people on Earth who haven't received the vaccine, that would be more valuable globally to stem this surge and stem the virus than giving a whole bunch of people in America who've already had 2 doses a 3rd dose. And so while the one caveat being that boosters, they do see that studies have shown that boosters are useful in people with weak immune systems, people 75 and up. The Israelis have started to do their boosters. Again, it's very early on, and I've seen a good boost there of boosters. But let's see how it goes long term and whether the booster people do better than the people who only had 2 vaccines. But the Israelis and some other folks have been very aggressive on the booster front. These guys are throwing caution to the wind, being like, where there's only a finite number of vaccines available right now, we should be shipping them off to countries and getting the unvaccinated vaccinated. So that's it on boosters. And then I think I got a question on at-home testing, Al.
Yeah.
Which you found a couple today.
I did.
Yeah.
And as soon as I posted about it, my friends ran and got the last test.
You sent a surge to the CVS and Astor Place.
CVS at Astor Place, and then they sold out in an hour. I mean, it is really hard to get these tests, but I also discovered that they expire really fast.
Oh, how long do they last?
So for us, the one I bought today expires in May.
So about 7 months, 8 months.
Yeah, but so everyone should check if they have their at-home Abbott Lab rapid tests.
Make sure it's not expired.
Check, yeah.
Okay. So, but the issue with those tests right now here at home is
the reliability.
Well, reliability's gotten better. It's the price.
Yeah.
That if we're going to implement testing, and especially this mandatory weekly testing in businesses, we're looking at the price right now here is between $15 and $30 per test. In Germany, it's $1 per test. In India, it's $3.50. In the UK, you get 14 tests per person free of charge. And Canada is doling out free tests. And so the big question is, why in the US are we somehow a year and a half into this and we still can't provide rapid testing, which would be a way to, kind of stem the surge. If you could take a free test in your home every morning after you brush your teeth, that could prevent a lot of spread. And so, one of the things Biden announced on Thursday as part of the vaccine mandate announcement was that he would invoke the Defense Production Act, which means the Pentagon sort of takes over private production to make 280 million rapid tests available. But think about it this way. We're a country of 350 million. Even that doesn't cover the whole country for a day. There's also a deal the White House struck with Walmart, Amazon, and Kroger to sell tests for 35% off.
Okay, so that's what happened. So today, I went into CVS and I paid $23 for a pack of 2.
Okay.
And they limit you to 4 packs.
4 packs.
Per person. Okay. So that was today. Online at Walmart, you can get them for $14.
Right.
That same pack is $14 at Walmart, but they're sold out now.
Yep.
They were so it's tough.
It's tough, guys. Capitalism, Grace James says. Yeah. That's the thing. People are like, why don't we have enough tests? It's it's supply and demand. Basic thing. There's a lot of demand, not enough supply.
On the CVS website, I looked. It's for the Abbott Lab test to see if they had it in stock. And some of them, there were 3 CVS's in downtown area of Manhattan that said they had it. But I called the one downtown, by World Trade, and they're like, oh, we actually don't have it. So make sure to call the CVS.
Call your local pharmacy
before you go.
Yeah.
Okay, that's my PSA.
That's Alex's PSA from her afternoon activity.
But you know what? My girlfriend is on her honeymoon in Sicily right now and said she spent $250
to get tested.
So if we could get these tests and bring them on our honeymoon, then hopefully we don't have to spend that.
Well, we'll get peace of mind, but the country might not accept them. But we might get peace of mind from them, right? But
I don't know. But you have to spend $250 on one.
That's not pleasant. All right.
You want to talk about Met Gala really fast?
Let me just hold on. Let me just make sure COVID stuff we're good there.
Yeah, more important.
Danica Land asks about how reliable the home tests are. Some are more reliable than others. Some involve you putting stuff in a box and shipping it off on UPS and getting those results. Follow the directions. I would imagine the reviews at this point might have a good sense of whether they're reliable or not, but keep in mind that these are all being conducted by people like you and me who don't have experience conducting these tests. So
apparently LabCorp has a PCR version that you could put your order on.
PCR at home, or do you have to ship it?
Yeah, I think it's an at-home situation.
Got it.
And it goes through your insurance.
All right. So LabCorp, research that option. Well, I'll try to find a good write-up, Al. If we should find a good write-up on all the various at-home options.
Yeah, I don't think people are maybe some people are fully aware of it, but I don't think a lot of people.
I think people are realizing that this is a thing that we got to figure out, especially this winter. And then I want to answer one other question.
Yeah.
From Jay Hawley about the anti-vax and anti-passport protests.
Oh, yes.
In France, Great Britain,
yes,
etc.
For sure.
And so, that's that. I posted, I think, the video from Toulouse, France, of like just the people wailing on each other over the weekend between the anti-vax and the vax protests. And, that you do have in the country, in France, I think they're like, the official there said they're at almost 90% of adults are vaccinated, of adults. Now, a lot of you, by the way, will send notes being like, wait, this number seems off. Keep in mind that there's ways to rank these countries by percent of total population, which includes children who are ineligible, and there's percent of adults or percent of eligible vaccinated population. So that's why you sometimes see higher numbers or lower numbers based on whether you track the total population or the adult population, the qualified population. Am I surprised? No, not necessarily. There's always been a bent of kind of anti-government protesters. I mean, if you look back in European history, even the 20th century, you had a lot of kind of like left-wing and right-wing groups, militant groups. In fact, in France, Germany, you had Baader-Meinhof in Germany, you had in England, etc., who would engage in kind of little, terrorist acts and rebellion stuff because they didn't like the government. You saw that in the 60s and early 70s a lot across Europe. So you've always had that. You've had that in Greece, you had that in Italy. So the fact that this exists now is not surprising. To those Americans, Europe has been much more restrictive in terms of social distancing, mask policies, closures, etc. So you see frustration happening there. You've seen it in Australia. The closest you would see it in the U.S. is probably California in terms of the rules that have been in place. But even most recently, those of you who are watching from Canada know that there's certain places in Canada that have seen, curfews and very high fines for going out, even at case levels of COVID that in the U.S. we live with on a day-to-day basis, even higher numbers. So not surprised by it. At the same time, the Europeans have been are much further in terms of vaccination than we are, so you have a smaller holdout population. But you're seeing that happen, and Europeans tend to be very vocal, and the unions are very strong there, and protesting is definitely a big cultural thing in a number of those countries. So that's my answer to that question.
Yeah, that was a good answer.
All right.
So I think the best transition into the Met Gala is with AOC.
Yes.
So tickets for the Met Gala, well, I should say it was sponsored this year by Instagram. Actually, Instagram was a big sponsor.
Oh, Instagram sponsored the Met Gala this year.
Yeah, I don't know if it's called sponsor, but it's like a co-hosted event.
Okay.
And tickets cost $30 to $50K, and the tables go from $300 to $500K.
Okay.
Okay. So AOC wore a dress.
Right.
That said,
tax the rich.
Tax the rich.
Yeah.
Okay. What did you think about that, Mosh?
So there's two ways to think about this, Alex. One is she's a hypocrite. What is she doing at the Met Gala? She's hanging out with the rich. She's spending the money, to hang with them, and then she writes "tax the rich" on her thing, and what a hypocrite to hang.
By the way, she's probably not spending the money. Someone invited her to be at their table.
Sure, someone invited AOC, right?
Okay. Ooh.
Is that thunder here in New York City? It's thundering, everybody. The red
you.
carpet, thank God. All right, so one philosophy on AOC is, what a hypocrite. Okay. She's trying to be a celebrity, blah, blah, blah. But she put her message on it. What's the point? The other philosophy, which I imagine you'll hear from AOC and the people who support her, is she's taking her message to those people. And that she has unique access to these people. And so she's there amongst the millionaires and the billionaires, as Bernie Sanders would say, to send them a message and reinforce that, that they shouldn't be taking advantage. Okay. I'm sure we'll hear more from AOC on her Twitter feed and on Capitol Hill this week.
People seem to really support it, but I will say people seem to support every dress that walked down that Met Gala.
Oh, they supported the dress.
No. I mean, people support her and the dress, but people seem to support everything. I feel like the fact that Joan Rivers is no longer here.
Yeah.
Everyone is so PC. Oh, I love this dress. Naomi
people aren't critical anymore, right?
Dress. I mean,
Alex was not a fan of Naomi Osaka's dress.
I really like, what did I like? I like Kaya Gerber.
So, the review so far, Kaya Gerber, Cindy Crawford's daughter.
Beautiful dress.
You like her dress? Yeah.
What else did we like, Mosh?
Somebody here is saying, WTF are people even wearing?
Yeah.
Is the goal of the Met Gala is to like wear artistic clothing, right? Like,
yeah. But I
kind
think
of out of left field.
Especially because we've all been wearing sweatpants.
Yeah.
For 2 years.
This feels
like nobody
special.
knows what to wear anymore, and that's why if you walk down the street, Mosh,
yeah,
you see 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s. I mean, like, there's such a mishmash right now, fashion, that you don't even know really what decade.
And you're seeing that you're seeing the variety, right? Lil Nas X looks like 3CPO. Well, he had 3 outfits.
Yeah, he did.
I mean, look at 3CPO from Star Wars.
Yeah.
That golden thing.
I heard a lot of people that it's like they were dressing for like the Olympics with the red, the white, the blue, because the theme was American Lexicon.
American Lexicon was the theme tonight. Somebody notes here Billie Eilish. She had a very ornate gown, like old Hollywood, right?
Yeah, which is different.
I'm way out of my expertise here.
She's used to wearing the baggy black dress. I think she looked beautiful. So what's significant about Billie Eilish is that she wore Oscar de la Renta, and Oscar came to her and said, we'd love for you to wear our clothes for the Met Gala, and she said, only if you say you won't use fur in your clothing from now on.
And they agreed to that, and so she wore their dress. That's cool. So that's using your influence for actual, change. So
yeah, well,
good for that.
I need I watched E for a lot of it, and I was just bored. I was bored. I need Joan. I need somebody like Joan.
There's been no heir apparent to Joan Rivers, right?
Yeah.
All right. So, well, it sounds like you might.
It's not me.
Throw your hat in the
I'll
ring
tell you
for
it's
that.
not
Okay.
me.
All right. So we got that in other related
Kim
news.
K. We forgot about Kim K.
Oh, Kim K and
She's reinventing
her
herself
burqa
right now.
thing tonight.
She's reinventing.
But that's like not an Afghan, right? Like that was not an Afghanistan thing.
Totally not.
Okay.
Mosh. But I like where your head's at, but no.
Okay.
She wore something
I
similar.
don't know. Maybe she's like.
She wore something like similar with Kanye's Donda album party, like album release.
So it's a Donda Kanye related attire.
I don't know if it's Kanye related, but she wore something and then she wore another thing this week that was like all leather covering her face.
Yeah.
So she's been like alluding to this for, past couple weeks. This wasn't like a brand new
for the Kardashian watchers out there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Kylie was supposed to come.
Kylie didn't come.
Didn't show up,
okay.
but said, I'm so sorry, like something happened. I
feel like we need to have a whole separate live just on this.
Okay, sorry, my brain.
No, I don't have much to say. People are saying Iman is iconic.
Yeah,
Iman.
we saw Iman.
Iman with
David Bowie kind of look.
The big thing going on. But on things I can contribute to the conversation on, entertainment-wise.
Yeah.
People asked about Britney Spears and the latest with her out of engagement. So, Britney, Brit, hashtag free Britney. She's free, sort of, almost. September 29th, everybody. So, just about 2 weeks away will be the next hearing. Jamie, the father, has said he is done. Britney's indicated that she still wants Jody Montgomery to stay on as a personal conservator. Remember, in conservatorship, you can have both a financial conservator and a personal conservator. And Britney sounds like, at least according to TMZ, that she wants Jody to run her household, make sure she has the right medications, etc. And Jamie's already agreed to step down. So it looks like we're on the edge of hashtag free Britney. And the big news over the weekend was the 4-carat diamond that she posed with as she got engaged to Sam.
So
how do you pronounce it? Asghari?
So he got the ring from a place called Forever Diamonds NY in New York.
Okay.
So it's on the street that
Diamond District?
Ring, yes.
Yeah.
And they already have on their website the Britney ring.
Ah. So those of you looking for the Britney ring, Turkey Winch, I'm looking at you. You can get it in Midtown, New York. Yeah. They're already advertising.
They're actually nice.
Yeah.
They're nice. Like
that shop?
Yeah.
You've been there?
Yeah.
Okay. So that's it. So we're happy for Britney. Hope that she finds happiness, and this should be a big month for her between the engagement And between...
But, like, I need Britney at the Met Gala. Why is she never
maybe next year she'll be there as a married woman, reinvented. I think Britney, we got to transition her away from this chaos, this crazy situation she's been in. So maybe the Met's not ready for her. Maybe next year the Met Gala.
Next year.
So there's that. We've spoken about Nicki Minaj, Britney Spears, the Met Gala. I did get a question about Ted Cruz and why he's holding up State Department ambassadors. I might just answer that on a post. It's complicated. It relates to a German company that's working with the Russians on a gas pipeline, Nord Stream 2. Anyway, bottom line is Ted Cruz is holding up all of the diplomats.
Yeah.
And the diplomat that was sent over to the Congress today, Rahm Emanuel, former mayor of Chicago, to be our ambassador to Japan, very diplomatic country. Rahm Emanuel, who swears like a sailor. So that'll be an interesting, if Rahm gets through, just Rahm representing us to Japan. I can't think of more opposite cultural, anyway. Rahm, of course, did some other stuff in addition to being mayor of Chicago, but that was his most recent kind of major thing. And then one more thing I had, the IRS proposal. So those of you who haven't seen yet, I posted today this IRS proposal that's part of the congressional negotiation on Capitol Hill right now around budget reconciliation. The IRS is asking banks and wants a new rule to go into effect, which means all deposits and withdrawals of $600 or more get alerted. So banks would have to alert them to every single transaction over $600 because they want to be able to better police those people who aren't paying their full taxes. Right now it's $10,000. It would be $600. So folks are like, shouldn't you be going after the rich? Because 136 billion of the 138 billion that's unpaid is the 1%. And why would you need to follow the $600 transactions? But the IRS says anything helps, and every 1% tax, 1% more people are paying of taxes that aren't currently being paid, brings in an extra $30 billion. So they believe they get 99% of taxes through your traditional wages if you get a W-2, but if you're self-employed, etc., they only believe that the IRS only believes it's getting about 45% of what they should be getting, because people are hiding stuff. And so this is an IRS proposal. So the House is negotiating this right now. So if you are not happy with that, which based on your comments, many of you were not, call your congressman.
Also, people want to know about Social Security, if you have to pay that tax.
What about Social Security tax?
You've gotten like 3 questions about Social Security.
I don't know what's happening with Social Security. So
okay, maybe you can talk about it with Sharon tomorrow.
Okay. If that's being negotiated as part of the new budget reconciliation. Okay. All right, guys.
You have a lot to talk about.
We got a lot to talk about tomorrow night. Appreciate all of you rejoining us on this Monday night, which has gotten stormy here
I'm so excited
in New York City.
To shower and then get into bed, and it's like raining and thundering. It's very
you like going to bed when it's like a rainy night.
Yeah.
Going to work in the morning.
It's not fun, but
not
going
fun.
To sleep is fun.
Oh, Claire is clarifying.
Yeah.
Thank you for clarifying, Claire. On Social Security, yes, it is running out in 2034, which is about 13 years away. We talked about this a couple of weeks ago, actually, I think. Social Security has been running out for years. You might remember, if you recall, the 2000 presidential debates between Al Gore and George W. Bush. Gore's plan, which he was mocked on Saturday Night Live, was a lockbox. He said, I'm going to have a lockbox for Social Security, and all the money that gets paid every year goes into that lockbox that we can't touch. Because the way the government's been operating Social Security for years is not that far off from a Ponzi a little bit. You pay in, it goes out. You pay in, it goes out. So I'm working, you're working, many of you are working. You pay in, it goes to current retirees. After 2034, we won't have enough to pay all current retirees. So the assessment at that point is, unless we raise the retirement age, we're going to have to lower benefits. So if you get paid $2,000 a month or $1,500 a month Social Security, that's going to drop by 20%. That's it right now. We have 13 years to fix that, along with climate change and some other business we got to deal with. So that's your quick headline there. One of the issues they face with Social Security, by the way, guys, is that many people have left the workforce in the last year, which means less people paying into the system, which means less money coming to the government, which means less money available for Social Security. Make sense? So as you look at those numbers in terms of employment, something to keep in mind is that's less for Social Security, and for those of you planning to retire, go get your 401k and don't try to depend on Social Security. Al, anything else?
No, I'm excited to shower and get into bed. I feel like it's been...
Call it a night.
We need to
call it Monday night.
Day of the weekend.
All right. We're going to work on that too, along with fixing Social Security, is a 3-day weekend. Actually, there's a whole bunch of folks out there who say that a 4-day week would actually make people much more effective than a 5-day week. The whole 5-day, 8-hour-a-day thing is a shtick we came up with 100 years ago that might not make sense anymore.
What do you think?
I don't know. I feel like with computers, etc., I think that there have been companies that have shown that a 4-day, it's like 4 10-hour days is more effective and more productive than, because people, you've been in the office on Fridays, how much really gets done after a certain time, right? So that's something to bring up. I appreciate all of you who bought badges at the bottom of the Instagram tonight, and those of you who are supporting via Venmo or Patreon, link in bio there.
And Sharon tomorrow night.
And we'll end with the tease, which is tomorrow night. I'll see you at the same time, same place, 9 p.m. Eastern, where I'll be talking to Sharon Sesso about all things reliable news, government, and taking your questions. And hopefully, between the two of us, we can answer any question you throw at us.
And it's at 9 o'clock tomorrow night?
9 p.m. Eastern tomorrow night, yeah. Magic Mike says, I'm a teacher, I don't know if I can handle 2 more hours a day. No, 10-hour day would be a very long day, but would the prospect of a 3-day weekend be even more exciting? I don't know if it would apply to school, but it might apply to work, but who knows. I guess you would have to make work and school parallel, because your kids, you need to be on the same schedule as your children. All right, you guys are the best. We'll see you guys tomorrow night. Bye.